Now, September is Albinism Awareness Month, and during this month, various role players unite to send a message of solidarity with those who are living with the condition while engaging society over superstition and prejudice. Joining us now to discuss Albinism Awareness Month is the founder of Albinism Society of South Africa, Mam Nomasonto Mazibuko. Mam Mazibuko, thank you for your time this afternoon and welcome to your daytime update. Now, when we talk of albinism, what exactly is the condition?
Thank you very much, Tammy, and to your viewers. Albinism is a genetic condition whereby a person is born lacking melanin in the skin, eyes, and hair. And what is important is that most of the time, the parents of the child that is born with albinism, both parents do not have albinism and are not aware that they are carriers of the genetic gene on albinism.
As far as South Africa is concerned, what would you say is the level of awareness regarding South Africans as well as an understanding of albinism?
Well, Tammy, we have gone so far for more than 20 years as the Albinism Society, but it has pained my heart to find that most of the people that I expected to know albinism have not a clue and are still using derogatory words and are still discriminating, especially on the girl child and women.
So tell us about some of the discrimination that, people who are living with the condition of albinism face on a daily basis in South Africa.
Firstly, Tammy, allow me to correct you. We're not living with albinism. We are born with albinism. So we are people with albinism because the people who live with something are the people who are living with the HIV/AIDS. So we don't live with albinism. Albinism, we are born with albinism. Most of the time we are faced with prejudice, name calling, discrimination, and where it is very difficult, we still have people who still hunt on the people with albinism, who still believe that albinism body parts can make them rich or can give them luck.
As far as terminology, because terminology is, as you rightly said, very important, what is the correct term that one ought to use, for people who have albinism or were born with albinism? Is it derogatory? Is it derogatory, for example, to say that somebody is an albino, or is that acceptable or not?
Albino is a word that is used, and in our African terminology we say umuntu uyinkawu, uyishaywa, and umuntu uliswafi. And those words are derogatory because if we speak about the Tswana terminology, you have albinism, you are not an albino. So when people call you albino, it's usually used when people are very angry or derogatory to you to say that albino. And when things are fine, people will call you by your name. And it is said that people whom you expected to know that it's derogatory still call you by that name.
And I think, Mam Mazibuko, this is perhaps the reason why a month or is actually set aside for education and awareness. Because in some instances, you'll find that a person doesn't really know, but when the spotlight is shone on such issues, then when you are better educated, you are better able to deal, with situations and are better able to call things what they are in a way that is not offensive. But let me ask you, Mam Mazibuko, we have seen in the past an increasing number of people with albinism in the spotlight, for example, being used in commercials as models and being used as actors as well. Has that in any way helped destigmatize albinism?
That is my pride because, as I'm saying, I worked with albinism more than 20 years, and I've seen to the succession plan of young women and young men getting into the space where I've given them the baton. But we still find that there are still those people who are hostile. And when it suits them, they call you by these derogatory names. And anyway, the month is the month of September, where we put it together and heritage. It is cultural that we find that people with albinism were termed to say we don't die, we disappear. It is cultural, where people still feel that traditional healers will hunt us for our body parts to make people rich. And it is so much depressing and, making things very difficult. And there's no safety, that most of the time the people that are hunted are the girl children and women.
As far as albinism is concerned outside the black race, how rife is it, perhaps outside of South Africa and outside of the black race?
Yes, albinism is very common amongst black people. Well, the study that was done and research is that black people marry very close cousins, maternal or paternal, where you find that the gene is reciprocated in a family where people would find themselves in this situation. So albinism in the black community is common, and we've seen it escalate. Why have we seen it escalate? It's because parents no longer hide their children with albinism. When I grew up, I thought it was only my family who had albinism. But as soon as I started the Albinism Society, I found there were thousands of people with albinism. And it was not practiced in South Africa that people were killed. It is only in 2015 that we found that Thandazile Mpuzi was killed. Yet, when you look at Africa, in Tanzania, most of the people were killed. And in Malawi, people with albinism are still killed in this day and age. So in South Africa, we've got only 2 reported cases of Thandazile Mpuzi and Gabsile Shabane, where a principal, can you imagine, Tammy, a principal led the child with albinism so that he wanted his business to prosper. But the principal is knowledgeable, and we still find that the people who use derogatory names are the people that we think are educated and are the people who must carry and assist us to do advocacy to other people and the whole country.
What are the programs or perhaps the initiatives that government has put in place to raise awareness on albinism?
Well, we've got 3 departments that we are working very closely with. It is the Department of Education, where we work with them to find that children with albinism are not bullied, where we explain to the parents that not all children with albinism are a one-size-fits-all. There are those children who need to go to the special schools, and there are those children who are mainstream. South Africa says it has inclusive education, but we've seen most of the children being taken to special schools. And coming back, we've seen that in South Africa, people at the workplace are still discriminated. When you have applied and you have the skills, people still discriminate against you to say, wow, you look at the panelists and you see that definitely you are not going to be employed. We work with the Department of Social Development, where people with albinism get dignity pack. Why we call it a dignity pack? Sunscreen in this country is still cosmetic. So the Department of Social Development is assisting us and our parents to give counseling to a child with albinism. The Department of Health also is doing that because it gives us spectacles at a minimal fee. We're looking forward to a day where spectacles will be free for people with albinism. Though our eyes cannot be corrected, but they assist to have your sunglasses and you have your spectacles, so that the teachers themselves understand that during the technological years, now we have all our documents and our textbooks in large print. Then we work with the Department of Arts and Culture, where we say people with albinism also can be in the team that is going to Tokyo. Don't deprive children with albinism. Don't deprive people with albinism to be sport activists. So we can play sports, we can do indoor games, we will be given the chance to play sport. And sport, my cute Tammy, helps us for our mental wellness. So we will walk, and people with albinism cannot be finding themselves walking only or hiking by themselves, because we are afraid that we can be kidnapped and we can be hunted by the traditional healers.
Are there any special programs, Mam Mazibuko, that will be taking place throughout this month of September, specifically from the side of the Albinism Society of South Africa?
Yes, the Albinism Society, in partnership with Arts and Culture, we will be having programs. Specifically, one other part that the Albinism Society of South Africa would like to boast about. Research has told us that people with albinism don't live above the year of 40 years, and we all die from skin cancer. But the Albinism Society has men and women who are 80, 90, and I myself has gone on the threshold where I am more than 50 and more than 60. So we will have programs where we amplify the fact that albinism is a manageable condition, where we will go to the School of the Disabled, Esmonile, where we will be encouraging young women. And one other thing that the Albinism Society is going to do is to go out to the Department of Health and say, did you use the sanitizers to check on our skin? Because we have a sensitive skin. Have the sensitizers be looked into our skin. So we are partnering with the Department of Health, where we'll be checking eyesight of people and hearing. And the Department of Health is going to look for us and check our teeth and check on our skins for cancer. And we are having support groups in the Eastern Cape, in the Western Cape, in KwaZulu-Natal, and in Gauteng, where we are working with young people and trying to find jobs. Youth are unemployed, and yet youth with disabilities, specifically youth.
All right, looks like we've lost our connection there with Nomasonto Mazibuko. She is a founder of the Albinism Society of South Africa. This is Albinism Awareness Month in South Africa.